What's up, guys? My name is Gabe and welcome into the Trojan Blade. Today we have part 2 of our spring position battle series. In episode 1 we discussed the offense, so if you missed that one, please go check it out. But today, of course, we are tackling the defense. And of course, this is the biggest question mark of this USC team. This side of the ball is going to decide whether SC is 8-4 or if we can make a serious run at the Big Ten title. So what is USC's defense going to look like in year 1 post Alex Grinch? That is what we'll be discussing today. So before we get into it, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. My goal is to get to 10K subs before we kick off against LSU in Vegas, so please subscribe and join this community. But having said all that, let's get into these battles. And before we go any further, we will be discussing these battles in the context of a 2-4-5 nickel, which isn't Lynn's base defense, but with how college football is played these days, it might as well be your base. Okay, so with the almost entirely new defensive staff, I really think most spots on this defense are going to be contested. So first, let's start with what spots aren't up for grabs. UCLA transfer Kamari Ramsey is going to be one of your safeties, not up for debate, it's locked in. This is one of the top defensive backs in the entire country. Swiss Army knife, he can cover, he can blitz, he can tackle. He is going to be one of the most important players on the entire team this year. Absolutely lock him in as one of your safeties. Next up, Bear Alexander will be one of your 2 down linemen. Bear is the premier player on the USC defense, one of the top interior linemen in all of college football. Big time player, there just isn't a world where he isn't starting for this USC team. Now remember, there's no more rush ends in this defense. There's defensive ends and defensive linemen, inside and outside essentially. So with that in mind, I think there is one lock between the 2 end spots, and I'm going to give it to Braylon Shelby. The way he came alive midway through last year, the way he's been discussed this offseason, the elite physical traits, the power, I just don't see SC taking the field against LSU week 1 without Shelby. Sticking with the defensive line, as of this moment on the roster, I don't think there's anyone that can fill the other interior D-line spot the way Isaiah Rakes can. So I have him penciled in as a starter as of now. The spring portal window is going to be massive for us, and I really think another big time interior guy will be added. But as of now, Rakes is the other guy inside. And the last locked in starting spot I feel is at the corner position, with former Bruin John Humphrey having one of those spots locked down. John went from being a slightly below average Pac-12 corner to one of the better covered corners in the entire country in 1 year under D'Anton Lynn. This is an experienced veteran going into year 2 of this scheme, and I think he's going to be that rock solid presence out there at corner. Really liked the tape I saw from him last year, but of course that leads us into the battles themselves. With that, let's start the other safety spot opposite Kamari Ramsey. Now for me, the clear favorite going into spring is Oregon State transfer Akili Arnold. I was very close to calling this a lock, but there's actually a ton of talent in the safety room when you really look at it. I mean, in this room you have Arnold, Christian Pierce, Zion Branch, Jalen Smith, Anthony Beavers. All of these guys have questions. How's Zion's health? Can Anthony Beavers hold up in coverage? Where is Christian Pierce at in terms of his development? Is Jalen Smith a nickel or a safety? That's why I think Akili Arnold is the guy here. He's a veteran, a natural safety, and a proven leader. After last year, I don't want any questions in the back end. Give me veterans, give me guys that know what they're doing, give me good tacklers. A duo of Arnold and Ramsey is that and then some. And look, I know Arnold's PFF tackling stats weren't great, but go and watch an Oregon State game from last year. He's a very solid player that seemed to always be around the ball. That entire team had a tackling problem. When that's the case, as we know with Alex Grinch, that says a lot more about the way they're running things than the actual players themselves. Now the nickel spot, I actually don't have a prediction for this one. Jalen Smith is such a productive and experienced player, but you also have Traquan Fagans, who I am incredibly high on. There are so many interesting pieces in the secondary. In one offseason, we went from not a lot of options to too many to wrap your head around. It's a great problem to have, but now we do have to talk about that other corner spot. Again, there's a lot of guys here. Prophet Brown came on at the end of last year and looked very solid, but to me, the choice is Mississippi State transfer DeCarlos Nicholson. D'Anton Lynn likes big physical corners. You have John Humphrey on the other side. He's over 6'2". DeCarlos Nicholson is 6'2", 6'3" as well. Extremely physical, great tackler, can play in the run game. This would be a big cornerback duo, a physical cornerback duo, and more importantly, a experienced cornerback duo. Again, I said with the safeties, I don't want to have any questions in that back end. Give me the experienced guys, give me the guys who can tackle, give me the guys that know what they're doing. We're going to be playing in some big environments this year, like at Michigan, Washington. You want guys that have been there, done that, especially in the secondary. All right, now let's talk about the 2 linebackers. Again, a lot of great options here. A lot of questions as well. Can Rajon Davis finally break through? Can one of the freshmen make a big impact? Can Mason Cobb bounce back? But my 2 starters out of this group were Eric Gentry and former Oregon State transfer Easton Mascarenas Arnold. Eric is simply too good a player to keep off the field. When he's out there, he tends to make a big impact, even if it doesn't show up on the stat sheet. His arms and length alone cause major problems for opponents' passing game. And Easton is a big-time player. I don't really see how he doesn't make it into the starting lineup. Production, scheme fit, athleticism. You look at him from any angle and he checks the box for what this defense is going to need from its inside backers. Now, looking at the defensive line, There will be rotation here, so I don't think who's starting is the biggest deal. But for the sake of this conversation, my starting line as the roster currently sits, again, emphasis on currently sits. There will be additions in the spring portal, I can promise you that. But I have Baron Rakes inside and Shelby and Jamil Muhammad as your two ends. Now I know that's obviously a very pass rush centric duo of ends there, but on third downs and in passing situations, I think that's the duo that could cause the most pressure on the opposing quarterback. A lot of upside there, but again, you can rotate as the game changes. If it's a 2nd and 1, that's probably not the duo you want out there. But again, so many options, and with spring ball just starting today, God knows what this depth chart is going to look like during the spring game. And I can't stress it enough, guys, we're not done adding to the roster, so buckle in. Still a long way to go with this defense. I'm finding myself to be more and more cautiously optimistic as the offseason goes along. I really like the pieces we've added so far. I love the defensive staff, obviously, but again, very curious to see what we do in this next portal window to really buttress things. So guys, I do want to hear from you. Please let me know your thoughts on the defense and the position battles down below. If you disagree with me on any of them, please let me know why as well. And guys, if you did happen to enjoy this video, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for all your continued support. You're all awesome, and as always, take care and fight on.